Hi there. Just a quick walk through the garden today. Show you what I've been working on, how it looks coming on the middle of July, and yeah, just have a pleasant chat. It's so nice out here. I love to just be out here. So a little bit of a record on where we're at this year and what progress has been and how it's going. The only thing I'm pulling from the garden today is a couple cucumbers and a pile of green beans. I got an entire 2 baskets full yesterday of zucchini, broccoli, kohlrabi, some kale, a couple cherry tomatoes, some more cucumbers, peppers, more green beans because they're coming on every day. So I'm getting quite a bit, but today I wanted to focus more on tidying up a little bit and yeah, that kind of stuff. So not so much harvesting. We have enough to eat at the moment. So as always, I'll start by the door. My peas are still producing a few pods. In fact, I should pick these off before I go. We like to eat just the whole pod, so usually by now they're done. I've still got a few little blossoms, so I've just left them. I'm a little surprised by that, but that's okay. The noodle beans are finally starting to wrap themselves about the pole and the climbing structure here. Just finally starting to get taller, so I'm anxious to see what those will be like when they finally start producing beans. But for right now, they're a lot bigger than they were last time I made a video. Same as the peppers. They've had a lot of new growth. The only peppers we've gotten off of here so far have been hot bananas and a couple of very small bell, like this one here. It looks like, again, this pepper plant I bought at the store because the ones that I started in my greenhouse, all the rest of these I started in my greenhouse from seed, and I hoed one off. And so I went to the store because I had this empty hole in my peppers, and I bought a pepper plant, and it's struggling. It's so small, but it keeps making these deformed little bell peppers, so I've been picking them off just to let the energy in the plant go more to trying to grow up and fill it out rather than trying to make these ridiculous little fruits. Kind of makes me feel good in a little way that, like, the ones I started from seed look so great, and the one from the store looks a little sad. But I'm trying. The cucumbers are starting to sprawl and fill out finally, and I've gotten probably 10 cucumbers so far. Not very many. Not too bitter, which is good. I struggle with that over here sometimes because I don't have perfect conditions for growing cucumbers, really. The ground is missing some nutrient, but anyway, and we have a lot of cucumber beetles, which I think I've helped with diatomaceous earth this year and keeping those under control. I haven't seen as many, so that might be helping too. The plants are not as stressed as they usually are, so the cucumbers have been sweeter this year. I got 2 today. I could see a few more coming on. Anyway, eggplants are still tiny. I don't really care because, like I said, I don't really like eating eggplant, but they're so far off from where they've been other years. The nasturtiums are filling out and getting lots of blooms. They bloom in cycles depending on rain and stuff, so it's nice to see they're all in a bloomy mode today. Tomatoes are looking great, except I do have the dreaded blight. I get it every year, and not much you can do except try and slow it down. So since we have a stretch here coming without any rain, one of these evenings, probably even tonight, I'm going to make my little mix of blight spray, which is mostly just baking soda, oil, water, and a little bit of dish soap to help it stick to the plants, to kind of control it a little. It's not bad. There's a couple plants where It's more yellow than I'd like, but it's so much fruit on. And these little heirloom tomatoes are much more susceptible to blight. This one looks awful, whereas some of these hybrids are just going to town, and it's like they don't even blight who. They don't care. Beets. I lost a whole little row of them right there. I don't even know what happened. They wilted. I've never had that happen to beets before. The rest of them look fine. The Swiss chard looks great. That's behind it. So I may just replant some right in this hole here, but we'll be ready to eat Swiss chard in the next week or two, it looks like. Maybe even this week. I'll pull some of those outer leaves. That's a cut and come again food. If you want a food that's going to last you all summer, like kale, Swiss chard's the same thing. You pick the big fat leaves on the outside, and it just keeps on making baby new leaves on the inside just infinitely until it freezes. So go for it. I love it. Celery's starting to get a little bigger. This random dill plant that came up is about to flower. These marigolds have filled out a lot. They all blew over in the storm we had they blew to the east, and some of them kind of permanently strayed over here, but they're okay. This is a weeding project that I've tried to weed so many times and I just can't do it. So there's a lot of weeds in here. There's a row of leeks on the edge here, and I can kind of weed those, but carrots. I say it every year. I can't figure out a way to weed carrots because I try to pull one weed and I pull the carrots right out of the ground right along with it. What can I say? This plot is my niece's plot. My brother and his daughter. She's 12. And it was nothing but weeds. Finally, I came over here and helped. I started helping her a couple days ago, and we're very slowly working on refinding her plants. She does have some squash here, some watermelon over here, pumpkins, a little baby cucumber right in there. It's so far behind because this is what it looked like. It was underneath all of that, and it's so hard to weed without stepping on things. She had peppers in here somewhere, we don't know where. Her tomatoes are a little behind, but we uncovered those and got them in cages. So her little 12-year-old garden, she's learning. The lavender I started from seed is doing okay. It's slow. It's always slow. It's a slow grower. The basil has suffered Japanese beetles. I bet I can still find some on there. Maybe not. You can see some of the damage though. It's not too bad, and it'll grow new leaves. I put some Japanese beetle traps way over there in that little grassy island, and it's collecting tons of beetles, and it's pulled most of them away from my garden. I haven't seen as many, so hopefully that was the trick. My sage plant, I've never been able to grow it before very well, and it looks great this year. A little rosemary back there. Parsley. I replanted some of my cilantro behind the cilantro in the shaded part, so hopefully it won't bolt. And then I let what was in front go ahead and bolt and flower so that I can harvest coriander, because we also use coriander for spice and cooking, but then also you can use it as seed for cilantro next year. So I haven't bought cilantro seed in a long time because I let it go to seed every year and collect it. My onions are starting to get little heads. They need a weed. This was the project of the week. I mowed over my strawberries and it gave me seizures. I was so terrified. I know you're supposed to do it every few years on June-bearing strawberries, and then I have to water them every day for a while to make sure they don't dry out. And I've got a creeping Charlie problem inside my strawberries. So what I'm hoping the plan will be is to let the strawberry plants grow up a little bit of new growth, providing they survived. I looked in there. There are tiny little leaves that have come up. You can see, right, since I mowed. So there's life. I can see them all over. I'm hoping once they get a little bit of new growth by August or maybe September, I can clearly see where I've got strawberry plants and then very carefully weed this whole thing because the creeping Charlie in here is insane. I didn't even realize it was that bad while the plants were full grown, and I knew I had a few like taller grasses and different kinds of weeds, but I had no idea there was so much creeping Charlie in there. Just never paid attention, and it's really bad. It's suffocating the ground, so that'll be a big project later in the summer, but for right now I'm just watering it and letting those little baby strawberry crowns make some baby leaves and rejuvenate after I mowed them with a lawnmower. I borrowed my brother's lawnmower. That's quite the thing. My friend Jeff gave me 2 trays of flowers that he started from seed in his house, and I thought that was so nice. A little bit late, but they'll still flower yet this summer. So we got 2 kinds of marigolds here, some Mexican sunflowers, I forgot what he said the real name was, and 2 kinds of zinnias. So I made a little walking path border here around the strawberry path, and hopefully we'll get even more flowers to attract those butterflies and things. That's one thing I said to my sister-in-law yesterday when we were here. I haven't seen any butterflies this year yet, and just when I said it, not even 60 seconds later, a monarch flew by, which was cool. But truly, other than being at Old Brook Botanical where they let butterflies go, I hadn't seen any at all this year, and none in my garden, and that's so strange for this time of year. So, but I'm hoping that some of these blooms will get some more in. This is a weeding project. I just weeded it 2 weeks ago, and it doesn't take long. Marty's flower garden. Her petunias need a deadheading, and they need a weed. Her salpoglosses need exactly the same, a deadheading and a weed. Her gazanias that she started this year are so cool. I really love them. We've never grown them before. This one's new today, and the color on it I've never seen before. They're really cute, but they're also very weedy. And then she's got these dandelion plants that are pink dandelions that have never made a bloom. They just keep going round and round, bigger and greener. And I keep waiting for a little flower to pop out, but they don't. What do you call these? I called them cornflowers online, which is what they are. And I had so many people say, what's a cornflower? Never heard of cornflower. Like, it was a strange name. And I looked it up, and they're called either cornflowers or bachelor's buttons. And bachelor's buttons I'm familiar with, and I know the name, and I know that they're bachelor's buttons. It's just another name for it, but I always call them cornflowers, and it says online that's a legit name. But I got a lot of resistance with calling them cornflowers. I thought that was funny. Zinnias are just starting to bloom up. They need a little deadheading too. They had a rough go, and I think it's because just of how weird and cool our spring was. The hollyhock also, they're not doing as well as they did last year. I've got 2 in the back that are, or 3 of them I see, that have buds on them. But they're not very tall, and the same with the cosmos. They're not even to my waist, and they started to bloom. Usually they're over my head. So I'm a little surprised at how stunted things feel still this year. The moss roses here are loving this summer. I've got a big patch of them, and they're usually so beautiful. They bloom in the morning, and it's now hot afternoon, so they don't bloom right now. They're timed bloomers. Actually, I think one of their nicknames is 11 o'clocks. So none of them are blooming right now, but trust me, they're very, very, very pretty. 4 rows of green beans. I've learned a really funny lesson. I'm not going to plant a really long row of green beans again. I think I'm going to keep them more in a cube or shorter rows. And it's the most ridiculous reason. When I'm picking that one row, I feel like I'm never going to get done, and I get really frustrated. Whereas when I'm in the shorter rows, I don't feel that sort of exhaustion. And I think it's just a mental trick. I think it has nothing to do with anything other than that it's a longer row and there's no end in sight. I love garden green beans. I love them so much, and they're easy to grow, and they're wonderful, and they have a couple flushes all summer and fill my freezer, and I just love it. But I hate picking. Oh, I hate picking greens, especially when I have back problems. It's one of my least favorite things to do. Broccoli's looking good. Some heads growing. We've already picked 2 and had 2. Kohlrabi doesn't like this hot weather, but it's fine. And we ate one already, and it was yummy. It used to live right there. That's my favorite. Zucchini, I've had a couple scares with vine borers, and I've been picking off squash bugs, and all of that. Oh, speaking of. But, yeah. They're not doing too bad, and they're producing a lot, and I have 8 whole plants, so I'm getting a lot. Nothing to complain about with them, just a lot of work keeping pests off of them, but they wouldn't mind a rain right about now, but that's okay. Kale, always got kale. Every time we pick kale, there's 9 plants, and I pick 2 off of each plant, and it's enough for us for supper. 2 leaves off of each one, just down the row, the bottom ones, and they just keep making more up top, and we just keep eating it all summer. Other squashes, I think I have a soil issue, because the ones that are more south are green and lush, and then these few that I have up here on the northern end look like they have some kind of mineral deficiency going on. They're very yellow. It's butternut and some pumpkins and stuff. I keep looking to see if there's something else going on. And they're not holding moisture as much, and I think it's because of the sunflowers behind it. So I make sure to water them a little extra. I'm not seeing any like specific squash bug damage or anything like that compared to anything else. So I almost feel like there's maybe something I planted previously in these rows that pulled a lot of nitrogen out of the soil, or something happened there. I don't know, but I'm working on trying to fix it. They're alive, they're fine, and I've got a couple of fruit on there so far. That one's got a pretty big spaghetti squash on it so far. The volunteer tomato came up in the middle of that one, and I just left it because that's what I do. The melons look okay. Did any of y'all sabotage your own garden though? I planted these melons here in this little spot, and I got them kind of close to my green beans, and I remember thinking to myself, I'll probably regret putting anything vining next to my green beans, because I come through my green beans so many times during the summer over and over again to pick. I'm going to end up stepping on vines. And I thought, I'll be careful, it'll be fine, no big deal. And today, while I was picking, I squished it with my foot. And I knew it when I planted it. I remembered thinking it. So, I mean, duh. So I don't know what to say about that. Anyway, that's the garden. I think I covered everything that I've been doing and what it is. It's very funny. I really wish it would rain, a nice heavy rain, and it's not in the forecast even until I think Saturday or something, like a whole week away. It's just that time of summer where the rain misses, and yesterday we had a thunderstorm roll through, and it gave us a nice rainbow, but it passed through to the south, and we got 3 sprinkles. But then I spend so much time out here weeding that I know if it rains, I'm just gonna get a pile of weeds and have to do that all over again. So, are you a gardener really if you don't just complain about the weather and the work? Why do we do it? Why not? Alright, that's all. Enjoy your day. Thanks for listening to me blabber. I'm good at that. Look, I even had these random leeks come up, and I knew they wouldn't produce leeks because they were from last year, but I knew they were going to make these cool little blooms. So I left them. And they did. My garden is chaos. I'd win no awards. Have a good one. Bye.